Just discussed the case, along with Jeff Wagner, that Stephen Avery has made for getting his appeal and his conviction thrown out.
And we might recall that Avery's nephew actually admitted to the crime, but later recanted his confession. It was a case that kept happening. You know, we kept getting a lot of twists and turns throughout the years, and this, of course, is one of the most notorious murder investigations that Wisconsin has ever seen.
Let's let Stephen Avery make his case.
Who will ever forget this scene? Stephen Avery looking like an extra in a ZZ Top video, being released from prison in 2003. He'd served 18 years behind bars for a rape conviction that was thrown out after DNA evidence showed that somebody else did it.
Can't imagine how good it felt.
Avery sued Manitowoc County for $36 million for that wrongful conviction. Fast forward to November of 2005. Detectives descended on Avery's ramshackle trailer at his family's auto salvage yard in Manitowoc County. They were looking for Teresa Halbach, who disappeared after visiting the salvage yard on business. Avery soon became the prime suspect, and with good reason.
We don't do nothing wrong.
Detectives found charred remains of Halbach's dismembered body in a fire pit and remnants of her cell phone in a burn barrel on the property. They also found her car with Avery's DNA inside. Detectives quickly obtained search warrants, and when they tore apart Avery's bedroom, they found Halbach's car keys with Avery's DNA on it. Avery was busted.
These items were seized.
Swashbuckling Calumet County DA Ken Kratz pounced on the case, and he seemed to revel in the swarm of media attention that ensued. This high-profile case put Kratz in the national spotlight, and with all the damning evidence, it was a case that no DA could afford to lose. Prosecutors also charged Avery's nephew, Brandon Dassey. Dassey confessed on videotape, telling detectives that he and his uncle raped and murdered Halbach. Dassey later recanted his confession, saying it was coerced.
Guilty of first-degree intentional homicide.
But Avery and Dassey were both convicted of brutally murdering Halbach. Prosecutors say they burned Halbach's body to cover up one of the most notorious crimes since Jeffrey Dahmer shocked the world. Avery was sentenced to life in prison. Dassey got 40 years. Fast forward again, this time to 2010. DA Ken Kratz resigns after a domestic abuse victim accused him of sending her racy text messages. Kratz later pled no contest to 6 ethics violations, saying he was addicted to sex and drugs. The Office of Lawyer Regulation wants the Supreme Court to suspend Kratz's law license, a case that's still pending. Fast forward to today. We get this packet from Stephen Avery. It begins with this handwritten note. Here is something for you to look at. Read what I read. It's very interesting. They framed me and my nephew. Sending parts of transcript and pictures. Use them if you please. Thank you, Stephen Avery. He sent along pictures of Teresa Halbach's car, partially covered with brush at Avery's salvage yard, a picture of the burn barrel, contents of the burn barrel, including what is purported to be the remnants of Teresa Halbach's cell phone. And then there's this, a 39-page document asking the court to vacate his conviction and give him a new trial. Avery provides more than a half-dozen reasons his conviction should be thrown out. He claims that detectives searched his property and found Halbach's car without obtaining a search warrant. He claims subsequent searches were conducted with faulty warrants. Avery says DA Kratz signed off on the affidavits, but they were not presented to judges as required by law. Bottom line, Avery wants most of the evidence used to convict him thrown out. He says the photos of Halbach's car reveal the doors were not sealed with evidence tape. That supports his claim that detectives could have sprinkled his DNA inside her car, DNA they still possessed from that earlier rape case that was overturned. Avery claims Halbach's cell phone was found someplace else, set on fire, and then the remnants were planted in his burn barrel. He claims Calumet County jailers listened in on his conversations with his attorneys, making it impossible for them to prepare a defense, and that violated his rights. He claims the judge who conducted his trial was biased because that same judge conducted his preliminary hearing and ruled there was probable cause that Avery had committed the crime. He claims his attorneys were ineffective because they failed to get some evidence thrown out. He claims several jurors should not have been allowed to serve on that jury because they had various connections to law enforcement or the courts. And separately, he's claimed that Manitowoc County investigators had a financial reason to frame him because he was suing them for $36 million in that wrongful rape conviction. In conclusion, Avery respectfully requests this honorable court grant him the relief requested. Signed, Stephen Avery.
All right, that is a lot to digest. I'm not sure I believe it, quite frankly. In fact, I don't. But we wanted to report Avery's side of the case because we really haven't heard it before.
Not a lot of chances, though, that Avery, I mean, most people are going to assume that he is not going to get exonerated.
Yeah,
from this.
I would say it is a very, very long shot. There are a few innocent people who are in prison. Avery himself, once convicted falsely and then not overturned.